Welcome to NFL Live. Look at Seattle in all its glory. The end of Week 15 on Monday Night Football tonight. Lumen Field, where it all happens. The Eagles visiting the Seahawks with significant playoff implications at stake. So let's get right to it. Time to check in at the Domino's pregame headquarters. We head straight out to Adam Schefter as there are questions surrounding the health of both quarterbacks tonight. Adam, let's start with Jalen Hurts. What do we know there?
Laura, both quarterbacks listed as questionable for tonight's game. Jalen Hurts had to travel separately from the team out to Seattle because he didn't want to get anybody else on the team sick. He's been battling sickness the last few days here. I understand that he may try to play tonight. He's going to try to push through this. Hard to imagine that somebody as tough, as resilient as Jalen Hurts wouldn't be out there, but the team's been very quiet about his status right now. If he couldn't play, Marcus Mariota would step in his place to replace Jalen Hurts tonight. And it's interesting to note that the game tonight was flexed into this spot in place of the Chiefs and Patriots game. If this game were played yesterday, it would have been hard for Jalen Hurts to be out there, and we might have seen Marcus Mariota. That extra bit of time might be enough to get him out there. As for Geno Smith, listed as questionable, I think it's been trending towards Drew Lock all week long. We'll see in pregame warmups whether Lock actually winds up playing. The Seahawks say it's going to be a game-time decision, but again, the signs continue to point to Drew Lock starting tonight for a second straight week. When Geno first suffered this groin injury, I was told it was a 2-week injury. This would be the second game that he would miss if he can't get out there tonight, Laura.
Time to check back in at the Domino's pregame headquarters where Lisa Salters joins us from Seattle. Lisa, as we wait to see how the Eagles quarterback situation unfolds with their offense, there are changes for the defense as well. What's Nick Sirianni going to do to address the Eagles' D-line struggles?
Yeah, Laura, well, Nick Sirianni said his message to his team this week has been, let's not forget that we're 10-3, block out the noise, focus on getting better. But Sirianni must have some level of concern about the way his team is playing right now, especially the defense, because for the first time all season, Matt Patricia will be down on the sidelines tonight calling Philly's defensive plays, and not defensive coordinator Sean Desai, who will move up to the coach's booth. Sirianni said the move was simply a matter of, quote, changing things up a bit. The Eagles defense has given up 9 touchdowns over the last 2 games, both blowout losses, and enters this game tonight ranked last in the league on third down, allowing opponents to convert 48% of the time. Sirianni also pivoted to a full pads practice on Thursday instead of their normal walkthrough session to start the week. While some players were reportedly caught off guard by the move, 6-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle Fletcher Cox said the team respected Sirianni's decision, and Laura, wide receiver Devontae Smith took it a step further, saying he wouldn't have done it if we didn't need it.
We turn to Mina Kimes. With all the questions at the quarterback position in this one, let's lean into the defenses here, Mina. Eagles linebacker Hassan Reddick is coming off a 2-sack performance last week. Does he get at least 1 sack tonight?
I think he does, and actually in part because of the quarterback situation, because it does seem more likely than not that Drew Lock is going to start. Geno Smith gets rid of the ball very quickly. Drew Lock does not, which should make it easier for Hassan Reddick, who has had a lot of sacks recently, to get to the quarterback.
Bobby Wagner leads the Seahawks with 132 tackles this season. Over under 5.5 tackles tonight for the Seattle linebacker.
Going over, he's cleared this in most games this season. I also think that the Eagles will come into this with an intention to run the ball, especially if Jalen is a little bit banged up. So there will be opportunities for Wagner to make tackles, as he so often does.
Let's talk points totals. Over under 45 points scored tonight.
You know, I'm going over, which I admit is a little bit risky with the uncertainty at quarterback, but to me, this is a reflection of the fact that I don't think both of these defenses are capable of stopping all of the skill players on both of these teams. Both past defenses have struggled. We're going to talk about a little bit on the Eagles side later, and I think those struggles could continue tonight despite the fact that we don't know who's playing quarterback.
You got to risk it to get the biscuit. I love it. Jalen Hurts dealing with an illness. He did fly there separately from the team. Adam Schefter saying he thinks Hurts is going to try to give it a go. Geno Smith, a little bit of a different story, dealing with a groin injury. Adam Schefter telling us earlier, it seems all week like Drew Lock would be the starting quarterback. We'll wait and see, as both game time decision. So on top of the quarterback news floating out there, the Eagles made a change at play caller on defense, replacing Sean Desai with Matt Patricia. Dan, Desai still the defensive coordinator, but not going to be down there. How do you think all that plays out tonight?
I mean, I think the two things, if you go back and think about Matt Patricia, specifically when he was great at New England, defensive coordinator-wise, and really the start when he was in Detroit, a lot of defensive line games. You know, when I'm talking stunts and twisting and all that, that was a big part of who they were, and it was really good. And that's something that this Philadelphia defense has struggled with this year, is creating that pressure, even though they are wildly talented. And then all the different coverages that he would deploy, a lot of different rotations, passing things off again, leverages. So it's something that's needed for this defense to perform better. Doing it without Darius Slay tonight, who's been by far their best cover guy, is going to be a challenge. But I think if he can get their rush going, that'll be a big deal.
Yeah, it's really about the rush, because when I watched the Eagles defense, this year I didn't really think the problems in pass defense were necessarily scheme related so much as personnel. A lot of injuries on that side of the ball. Some weaknesses, I think, coming into the season, especially up the spine. I don't really think any of that can be fixed with a coaching change, especially right now, given, as Dan alluded to, some of the complexity of what Patricia does. And I think for Seattle, that presents a real opportunity, even if Drew Lock is the quarterback, to attack the middle of the field. Seattle has a talent advantage when it comes to their tight ends and their, well, I would say their entire wide receiver group now versus the secondary out Slay. It's really going to come down to, and this cuts to Dan's point about the games up front, whether or not Drew Lock has the time to deliver it to them.
All right, so if it's not Geno Smith, it would be Drew Lock. If it's not Jalen Hurts, it would be Marcus Mariota at quarterback for the Eagles. We're going to pick this one here. So everybody on the Eagles except Dan, but RC will give you the honors. How does it play out tonight?
I have absolutely no idea how it's going to play out. I don't even know who's going to play quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, but I do expect them to be different on the defensive side of the football. When you look at who Matt Patricia is, by the way he'll hold them accountable, also watching the film of the last 2 weeks and understanding how much more effort there needs to be, physicality and tackling, and want to. There's going to be a change in attitude on that side of the football, and I feel like Drew Lock is going to be the unlucky recipient of what's happened the last 2 weeks to this defense.
And there's urgency in Seattle. This game doesn't really impact Philadelphia when it comes to their potential winning the division. They beat the Giants twice, and they do. I think the coverage without Darius Slay is still going to be a concern, and I don't want to be a part of the NFL Live curse.
Thank you for picking Seattle so I didn't have to. I was going to have to do it so we don't curse a team.